Sitting in the back between Rain and Leah, Soren toyed with the label of an empty water bottle bearing an expression just as silent and distant as Rain's. "You okay?" Leah asked the two of them. "Yeah, just tired," he said. It was only a half-truth, but he didn't want to trouble them. "What's really bothering you?" she pressed. "Nothing. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. You guys have your life back." "Please," Rain scoffed. As far as she was concerned, she hadn't even started living. Soren was well aware, although kept his mouth shut about it. Nobody seemed to feel much like talking anyway, and he didn't really blame them. "I'm going to drop you guys off at your place first, okay?" Matt called back once they reached Greenville. "Sam, you're walking home." "Yeah, whatever." "Sounds fine," Leah yawned. "Hopefully your parents don't murder you." "Sam, you can have dinner at our house if your dad isn't going to feed you." "Who am I to turn down a free meal?" He shrugged as they pulled up in front of the Victorian abode. "Okay, everybody out." Grabbing his bag, Sam emerged while Soren waited for Leah and Rain. "Your folks aren't going to put me on the menu, are they?" Sam questioned after a slight realization. The look Leah gave him clearly showed she didn't appreciate his comment. "What?" He threw up his hands. "I'm serious." "It's fine, Sam." "Hey, I don't want to be dinner, all right?" "You won't be," Soren cracked a smile. "Although I'd curb the remarks if I were you. I made the mistake of asking the same question and it didn't end well." "Yeah, well, for you it's a double standard." "What's that supposed to mean?" "Dude, you gotta worry about it from both ends. You know how many people around here eat fish?" Soren's jaw dropped. "You are a horrible person," he said, though was met with nothing but a shrug. "Shut up, Sam. My parents don't eat people," Lee snapped angrily. "Mine do," Rain said with red eyes. "Point taken." Grabbing his arm, she suddenly twisted it in an uncomfortable position. "Do you want to keep going?" "Ow, fuck, alright, Jesus Christ, I yield, damn it!" "Thought so." Letting go, Rain headed to the kitchen, where Leah was already making herself a sandwich. "I guess the maid wasn't expecting us," she said as she held out a bag of bread. "Help yourselves." Rubbing his wrist, Sam glared. "You should have broken it," Leah sighed, spreading a wad of peanut butter over an unhealthy amount of Nutella. Rain grabbed a couple of loaves herself. "Next time I'll kick him where it counts." "So much for decency." Pulling up a chair, Sam plopped down. "Hey, you got any tuna?" He paused for a moment and looked at Soren. "Oh wait, you're not going to get offended or anything, are you?" "Why would I?" "I don't know, you tell me, bro. They got all bent out of shape when I ask legitimate questions about vampires. I don't know what you're gonna do. I mean, for all I know, you could start bugging out about it being cannibalism or some shit." "Ugh." Rolling his eyes, Soren brought a hand to his face as if suffering a migraine. "I'm not a fish, you moron." "Really?" Sam reached into his pocket. "That's interesting, because Mr. Cell Phone Camera here says otherwise." Pulling out his phone, he toted it back and forth while Soren's expression melted to unease. "Somebody please tell me he didn't." "There's no way he could have," Leah protested. "I spent the entire night against that door." Rain fixed Sam a piercing look. "I'm really going to have to break your arm, aren't I?" "Just proved it wasn't a dream," he smiled and slipped his phone back into his pocket. "You guys are too easy." "I hate you," Rain snapped as Leah flung a can at him. "You're such a deceitful little jerk." Catching it, Sam smiled and cracked it open. "Why, because I just outwitted you?" "Doesn't matter. You're still a jerk," Soren agreed. "I'll take that as a yes. So wait a minute. If all that shit really did happen last night, then that means you control the Soul Eater," Sam said to Rain. "Let's mess with him. I could go for a laugh." "No," she sighed. "If you keep asking, I'll sick him on you." "What's the point of having a demon slave if you're just going to keep him in a box?" "He's not a slave. He's my responsibility," she said as she touched the pendant. "Responsibility? Rain, he killed like 10 people and butchered Soren's uncle. Not to mention he made a mockery out of like half the high school. He deserves to be humiliated." "He has to eat, Sam." "People? Hey, I thought you were on our side. Make up your freaking mind already." "Just shut up." She didn't like his questions. "Eat the sandwich and get out." "Whatever. Have fun with your puppet. I still say you should teach him a lesson." Grabbing his bag, Sam headed for the door while Soren shook his head. "He's wrong, right?" Rain asked quietly. "Of course he is. Torturing someone isn't a way to get back at them. Vancelin deserves a great many things, but that doesn't mean it's anyone's place to do them to him. I think this is punishment enough. You had a good point last night when you said it wasn't his fault he exists. I'll admit I have a bit of a bias when it comes to him, but in light of all that, if eradicating him isn't an option, then removing him from human contact seems like a good idea. If you keep him in Zero Realm, he can't hurt anyone. I'm not sure how to go about the whole food ordeal, but I'll leave that decision to you." Mulling over his words, Rain felt somewhat relieved. She had often thought she wasn't in the position to decide what was right or wrong. Her morals were all but in the gutter, and she sometimes had to remind herself that torture was bad. "I'm only bringing him out to feed. That should keep the peace. And we're going to try animals first." "I guess it's better than people," Leah sighed. "I wouldn't wait too long. He wasn't in the best shape last night." As far as I know, he can survive on about 1 soul a week, Soren replied. I don't know the animal equivalent to that, or if there even is one, but that's something you'll probably just have to find out from him. I might as well get started, Ren muttered. I'll be upstairs so he doesn't have a fit, she said as she headed for her room. Closing the door behind her, she touched the pendant tentatively and the portal dispensed him on top of the bed, although this time he had a hitchhiker. Looking quite panicked, his minion fell through on top of him with a sharp squeak. Taking note of Rain, however, its eyes narrowed and it began to hiss. Vance appeared non-responsive, and when it realized this, it started to eep repeatedly. Vance? Rain stood to get a better look. Get out of the way, she snapped at the minion. Hey, come on, Vance. Stop joking. Get up. Unfortunately, the knife wound she had inflicted almost 2 days prior had never been addressed, and the entire front of his shirt was soaked in blood. Paling slightly, Rain looked at Rose. Go get Soren or your master's going to be a dead man. Back downstairs, Soren had just finished his lunch and was currently refilling a water bottle when the creature appeared. The moment he saw it, the bottle hit the floor and he summoned his blade. Where in the heck did you come from? What is that? Leah backed away. Is that one of Vance's? Yeah, a real nasty one. Go check on Rain, he told her, keeping the weapon on the fiend. I'm right here, she called from the doorway. Vance is unconscious. Soren was relieved to see her, although his brow furrowed at the mention. What happened? That wound I gave him. He never took care of it. Wound? Soren brushed past her to see for himself. The little minion followed and managed to get to the door beforehand. Ignoring it, he rushed over, using the dawn cutter to push it aside. You did this to him? He asked, pulling up Vance's shirt to reveal a deep gash that ran just up under the side of his rib. It was honestly a miracle she'd missed an organ. Yes, Ren was honest. He had pushed her in every way there was to be pushed, and she had gotten her vengeance. Only now, as she saw him half dead, did she perhaps regret her previous actions. Soren let his shirt fall gently back into place. He said nothing of her assault, although did look slightly disturbed. He's going to need a doctor, he admitted as Rose started to lick at the wound. I'm not good with medical stuff. Do you have any gauze pads or something? We've got to stop that bleeding or he's going to die. We can't just get a doctor? Leah looked anxious. I can do this. Ren figured it was her mess to clean up. Are you sure? Soren asked. I know how to stitch wounds, she nodded. I've had practice, but it can get messy. Purposely looking away, he brought a hand to his mouth and swallowed hard. I think I'll wait outside. I'm not really good with these kinds of things. Leah left as well. It's not like you didn't deserve it, Soren. I wasn't there. I missed the altercation, he said as she followed him out. But it speaks a lot for Rain that she's willing to correct it. She's not a bad person. She just had terrible things happen. You can understand that, right? Of course. Don't take this the wrong way, but her and Vancelyn aren't that far apart. The only difference is that Rain doesn't let it consume her. She tries to hang on to the light even if it wants to repel her. That takes a special kind of person, though I'm not sure she would appreciate the analogy. Just because something is dark doesn't make it evil. Evil is what you get when you let the darkness define you. She's tried really hard not to be the type of person Vancelyn is. Leah peered into the room as Rain wiped off her hands. I think she's doing a good job of it. Soren joined them once she'd finished with Vance, and Rose went back to licking his face. What's that thing doing? Leah asked in disgust. I think it's trying to give him CPR. Either that or a bath. Ugh, it's a Darkmite, Soren explained. He calls it Rose. I guess because it's the only Darkmite I've ever seen with purple eyes. It doesn't normally look like that, though. Its form changes depending on Vance's mood. It's a good thing he's ready to drop, or we'd be in trouble. Rose, Rain snorted. She's anything but. I'd call her Shorty. Soren raised his weapon again as it turned and hissed. I'd be careful, Rain. That thing is uniquely dangerous. We had a hell of a time with it. Also, a word of caution. When he comes around, you should make him get rid of it. It's not a manifestation of his energy, which means you can't control it. What's worse is that it's got the ability to merge with him. They can merge? Leah asked nervously. Into what? A problem. A very nasty one. He has a thing for playing cards. Don't ask me why. Too many games of solitaire, I guess. Right now it's a little imp, but imagine what an incarnation of the Queen of Spades would look like in grimdark form. And we're not talking Alice in Wonderland. As far as merging goes, his card is the Joker. I'll let you guys deduce the outcome from there. I don't know cards. Leah looked embarrassed. It'd be bad news, Rain said. So let's not ever let that happen. He won't summon Rose again. Hearing its name, the creature eeped and narrowed its gaze. Yeah, we're looking at you, she said flatly. You guys can hang out. I'm gonna make sure Rose here gets sent back the moment he opens his eyes. Alright, if you need anything, just give a yell. Soren turned toward the door. Coming to about a half an hour later, Rose ignored Rain and reached up to yank on Vance's hair when he opened his eyes. Ugh, Rose, stop, he groaned, batting her away. Dismiss her, Vance. Rain looked down at her nails. She's been hovering at your side for a solid hour. Huh? His expression darkened at the memories that came flooding back, and with a slight eep, Rose was instantly transformed into a playing card.
What the shit? What the fuck did you just do?
Reaching down, Vance picked it up and arched a brow. Rain ignored his expression. Can you devour animal souls? Soren said. I had to ask.
If it has a soul, I can eat it, which means you have nothing to worry about. But as far as survival goes, no, animals don't cut it.
Guess you're screwed then.
You're sick, you know that? Is this how you get off, you disgusting cow? Congratulations, you've achieved a level of despicability that even I'm not capable of.
I have more morals than you. At least I try to do the right thing.
The right thing?
Vance screamed.
Are you shitting me? I could have had you as my slave. I could have killed Liz and the rest of those high school losers and been on an island right now sipping a fucking martini. Don't you talk to me about the right thing.
I saved your life from non-existence, she protested. You didn't want to die. We're squared. Just get used to the miserable idea that you're still alive. I'm even considering feeding you, so get off my back.
Of course you are, because if you didn't, you wouldn't have anyone to take your misplaced anger out on now, would you?
My anger is very finely placed, thank you very much. I got over my problems a long time ago.
Oh yeah, sure. Because starving someone to death and controlling them is totally unrelated to childhood abuse.
Please, Vance, let's not play this game. He didn't respond and instead held out a hand to open a portal back to Void Realm himself. Saying nothing, Rain didn't want to hear it. Honestly, you two like to torture each other. Leah had heard their screaming from downstairs. I asked him one question and he flips out. He's unbelievable. You two seriously need, couples therapy. I just assume you don't summon him unless you absolutely have to, Soren said as he got off the couch. He's never going to get off your back about it. You might as well just leave him where he belongs and save yourself the aggravation. I'm going to, Rain scowled. I'm letting him feed tonight and then he's going back there for a solid week. Speaking of solid week, Soren replied, do you guys know of any place I could stay for a while? Like a hotel or something where they don't check rooms too often? I kind of want to speak to Liz before I go. You can stay here, Leah insisted. My parents aren't going to be home. They're not even in the States. I have time before I'm grounded. Are you sure? I wouldn't want to infringe. Seriously, it's fine. You already know our big secret. Well, as long as you're not going to have any unexpected guests. I hope not, Rain said under her breath. You hope not? Is there something I should know? I can hold my own, but the weather's been kind of, unpredictable. Let's see. My sadistic keeper for the last 5 or so years is pissed I ran away. My dad's probably sending his spawns to bring me home, but they won't because killing me is totally an option for them. Oh, and my fairy godmother might stop by and kick my ass because the school's probably called and told her I've been skipping, so no big deal, right? Soren's expression was one of disbelief. Well, it's not much considering the help you've given me, but I can prevent anyone from getting onto the property. Could you? Rain stared at him with large eyes. Soren, that'd be awesome. I think I might just step out to shut Bitchface up first, though, she said as she grabbed her jacket. All right, well, when you come back, let me know. I'll put a barrier around the entire place. Nobody who means you harm will be able to get within 30 feet of it. That's a lot of people you're going to be keeping out. Ren looked a little sad as she said so. Leaving the house, she walked a few blocks before slipping into an alley. She figured Vance would still be pissed, but had little time to dwell on it. Hitting the ground as the portal upchucked him, he groaned and went to rub his head.
Somebody's got to install an escalator on that thing.
Yeah, right after they install a hot tub in Zero Realm. Go get something to eat.
Go fuck yourself,
he crossed his arms. Save it, Vancelyn. Are you going to get takeout or what?
Go fuck yourself, he said again. I'm not going to give you the pleasure.
Oh, yeah, because it really gets me going when I see people lose their souls to someone with enormous teeth. Blatantly ignoring her, he stood there in a rut as a couple of high schoolers were making their way home. Ironically, Liz happened to be among them. Saying nothing, Vance leaned against the wall. His attention shifted as she walked in the direction of her house, and while it was against his better judgment, he got up a few seconds later to tail her. Following at a considerable distance, he hung back by the same tree Rain and Sam had used to spy on him a few weeks prior and waited until she had gone into the house. Pulling a small black box from his pocket, he drew a deep breath and rung the bell. A few minutes after that, Liz appeared. Staring up at him, her expression faltered. Can I help you? It took him a moment to respond.
Yeah, actually, I'm looking for someone named Elizabeth.
Speaking. Vance held out the box.
Sorry to bother you, but some kid paid me $50 to deliver this to this address. He said he couldn't do it himself, but he thought you might want it back.
Handing it to her, he quickly turned to walk away. What is it? She asked as she removed the top and nearly dropped it to the ground at the side of the small red stone Rourke had won for her at the fair. Wait! She stepped onto the porch to search for him, although by then he was already gone. Watching the exchange, Rain felt a brief twinge of pity. Why'd you do that? She asked as she appeared at his side. Do you like hurting yourself?
You need to learn to mind your own business,
Vance said sharply. I thought you were going to eat her, actually. Couldn't let that happen.
You would think that, wouldn't you? It's called actually giving a shit, and it's not something a person like you would understand. All you know how to do is cause other people pain. I should know. It used to be the same way.
Yeah, I can see you're really reformed, she said sarcastically. I don't cause people pain.
Not all pain is physical. That's something I've just come to realize.
Oh yeah, be the victim. You know damn well what you said to me hurt.
And so do you,
he hissed. You started it.
No, you did, when you decided to lead Soren right to me. You couldn't have just been satisfied with what happened? You couldn't have just left me alone and gone back to your own fucking life? You know what? I was wrong. You are just like the humans. You don't understand something, so you have to hunt it down and destroy it. And if you can't do that, you capture it and control it to quell your own insecurities. I scared you on purpose, but I never tried to seriously hurt you. That's not something you can say in your own defense.
Look, I didn't summon you to listen to you bitch me out again, Rin snapped. Go get something to eat and let's just keep our distance. Vance gave up and wandered away. He didn't really have any intentions of listening, more so out of spite considering he was absolutely starving. Returning to her house after getting nowhere, Rin stopped on the porch and seemed to hesitate. She found the words died in her throat as a car suddenly spun through a red light and the sound of a gunshot emerged from a dark-tinted window. Nearly falling off the sofa, Soren immediately sat up. What's going on? He yelled to Leah, who'd dropped a glass to the floor. Falling against the steps, Rain's eyes were wide. Vance did not intend to do anything, although it did occur to him that she was still wearing the amulet, and he knelt down in an attempt to frisk her for it. Hurrying after Leah, Soren was about to say something when he was quickly cut short by the sight. Ignoring Vance for the time being, he told Leah to get behind him and brought up the dawn cutter, which began to give off a faint illumination, erecting a powerful barrier of pure silver light that encompassed the entire span of the property. Unfortunately, Rin was barely conscious. Her cigarette had fallen from her hands, its embers dimming as the night cooled them to nothing. Come on, Rin, stay with me.
Don't bother,
Vance scoffed while Soren knelt down and threw his hands against the wound.
She's dead already.
As if you did anything to help.
Why would I?
She saved your life, Soren snapped.
Don't start with me, you little shit.
God damn it, Vance, for once in your miserable existence, could you possibly think about someone other than yourself?
You really think I would give up my freedom to save the life of a worthless half-breed who gets her kicks out of making me miserable?
If she dies, I will bind you, and you will die. How about that?
How about I don't care?
Of course you don't. You're a monster. You don't care about anything. For whatever reason, something about that word seemed to rub him the wrong way. Walking over, he kicked Soren and shoved him aside.
Get the fuck out of my way.
Kneeling down, the look Vance gave Rin was devastatingly dark.
I am not doing this because I want you to live,
he hissed as he suddenly reached out and pressed a hand against the wound. A torrent of black energy radiated off his arm. Impacting her skin, it drew forth the bullet while gradually repairing the damage. Are you sure about this? Leah asked Soren. Don't worry, the amulet will protect her, he said as Vance stormed away.
There, you're fixed. Now we're even.
You act like you were just asked to swallow poison, Leah scoffed.
I hate you all, and mark my words, if I ever get out of this, I'm gonna skin every last one of you alive. Twice.
Soren only shook his head and knelt to make sure Rin was all right. Can I get a hand? She asked quietly. Being shot wasn't exactly doing wonders for her mood. How you feeling? Leah helped her into the house. Like I was just shot by a Girl Scout? Cowards, I'm gonna stick their heads on pikes. Forget about that, Rin. You need to relax. I can't. Her eyes were now a muddy shade of red. Who bribed Vance to save me? Nobody. Back outside, he reached into his pocket and removed the playing card he still had in his possession. Throwing it to the ground, he watched with a reluctant smile as Rose crawled up from the void and ran to him with an eep. It was about an hour later that things calmed down. I'm gonna get some rest, Soren told them. You guys should too. Rain, before you go to bed, you might want to put Vance away. I think he's still moping around out there. Slowly getting up, she made her way to the porch. Noticing Rose, she decided not to say anything. Thanks for saving me, she said instead. Vance simply turned his back. Rose, however, took one look at Rain and lunged. Thankfully, he managed to grab her before she made contact.
Rose, knock it off. I told you to leave. Damn it, just go.
Where's she going? Rain asked.
I don't trust you. Rose is my friend, and I'm not going to put her in danger.
Tilting its head, the creature eeped at him.
Minion, friend, same difference, he muttered.
What danger is she in? She's your minion, not mine. I don't want to control her.
And I'm going to believe you because... Eep. Shut up, Rose. This doesn't concern you.
Does it look like I care as long as she's not trying to rip my face off?
You don't care about much of anything, do you? I know Soren told you things, but you only have one side of the story.
Okay then, Vance, let's hear your side. Ren leaned against the doorway.
Why, so you can contradict me some more? What the fuck do you want to know?
I want to hear your side.
My side of what? Soren and his little friends?
His tone darkened.
My side to that? I spent 18 years of my life in a single room while my dad fed me bullshit about being some kind of messiah. When you're told you're going to rule the world and that everyone else is below you, it kind of fucks up your perspective. Not to mention spending your entire life behind closed doors and being told you're too special to be part of normal society while those little shits got to run around and do whatever the fuck they pleased. So yeah, maybe I fucked with them after I realized my dad was full of shit. I didn't kill that prick's father because I wanted to. Soren didn't tell you that, did he? I was forced to kill his uncle. I killed the rest of those rat bastards for the hell they put me through when I realized all they wanted to use me for was a goddamn port key. I made my father watch. Bastard thought he could use me to open Dementia and then throw me away. He told me I was going to be the one to take over, when in reality, he only said that because that was what he was planning to do himself. The only way he could is if he bullshitted me into opening the portal for him first. Talk about a case of be careful what you create.
Ren felt her eyes twitch as their color shifted. She stared at him with a cerulean gaze, although her expression was one of doubt. It bothered her how frighteningly close their pasts were. She didn't want to admit she'd started to feel a sense of kinship with someone so arrogant. Vance noticed the shift, although said nothing. Instead, he simply turned and lifted his gaze toward the sky. Go back to the other realm, Ren said calmly.
Of course, back in the cage. Because you all know as well as I do, there's no place in this realm for someone like me. I should know. I've been to all of them.
The rest of the night went smoothly, and upon waking, Soren waited for the girls to come downstairs. Surprisingly, the first one up, Ren didn't look any happier. She hadn't slept much, dwelling on all that had occurred. Her hunger hadn't helped either. Rubbing her eyes, she stepped into the living room. Can I have a word with you? What is it, Soren? She had a feeling it wasn't going to be a pleasant discussion. I overheard your conversation last night, he admitted. I don't know what you went through in the past, but despite whatever similarities you might think you see, don't let Vancelin run his mouth. Trust me, he won't return the empathy. Whatever happened between him and Liz was an anomaly at best. He's not just going to up and change. He'll try and use you and then stab you in the back the first chance he gets. Ren was too tired to argue. I know he's a master liar. I'm not stupid. Do you really think I'd trust someone like myself? She was the type of person to bring a machine gun to a knife fight. Honor was something she valued, but when it came down to brass tacks, she would forsake it. She could see Vance was that type of person as well, and a very obvious sore loser. He can talk all he wants, Soren. At best, he'll make me feel sorry for him, but that's where it stops. I hope so, Ren. Knowing not to push it, that was all he said as he walked into the kitchen to get himself a drink. Soren, the only friend I have here is Leah. You're getting there, but I'm not much of a people person. What makes you think out of all the people in this town I'd trust Vance? I saw what he does. No thanks. Looking back as he filled the glass, Soren leaned against the countertop. He has you convinced about Liz, doesn't he? I'm not sure I fully buy that. I want to speak with her myself because, honestly, I think it's an act. Vance is salt to an open wound. He'll find your weak points and target them. Just because he got his heart broken over her rejection doesn't mean I'm going to try to become friends with him. I'm perfectly okay with teasing him about it. She thought of how his eyes were always bloodshot after they screamed at each other. Soren was light. She knew he couldn't understand how people from the opposite side cared for their own. He finds my weak points, but they're also his. We make each other upset and angry. I've got it, she said sternly. I can throw salt in his wounds, too. Soren chose to let the matter drop, although he still didn't look rightly satisfied. Finishing the glass, he set it aside and went to make himself a sandwich. In any case, I wanted to talk to Liz about all this. I guess school isn't in today, considering the weekend and all. I don't know if she lives within walking distance, but the sooner the better. Leah can take you there. She has practice in an hour. I'm going to stay home and clean. Soren nodded and took a seat at the table to finish his breakfast. Coming downstairs about 10 minutes later, Leah looked as if nothing had ever happened. Hey, guys, she greeted while fixing her shoelaces. Morning, Leah. Say, you wouldn't mind pointing me in the direction of Liz's place before practice, would you? No, it's on the way anyway. You're going to stay home? She asked Rain, who nodded as she drank her orange juice. Once they were gone, she gathered a bucket of bleach and a sponge from the cabinet. The reclusive maid would have had a fit upon seeing the bloodied stairs, and she wasn't about to give her any more of a reason to call her mentor. Letting Vance out for the time being, she figured it was an opportunity since Soren had left. The portal opened from the ceiling, although this time he managed to catch himself before he hit the floor. Giving her a dark look, he said nothing and proceeded to stand there with his arms crossed in a sour stare. I hope your face stays that way. You have limited time today, so make use of it, she said as she set the bucket on the steps and began to scrub away the stains. With one swift kick, he knocked it down, and Rain tried to keep her temper as she filled it back up and launched the entire thing in his direction.
Nice try.
Holding out a hand, the water stopped and flew backward into her face. Rain was furious. "You're an infant," she hissed, proceeding to fill it a third time. Vance waited until she was preoccupied before raising a finger in the shape of a mock toy gun. Closing one eye, he lined it up with the bucket and it flipped off the stairs, showering her once again in bleach water. "You're a fuck!" she yelled, both sopping wet and furious.
Thank you,
he snickered. "I'm glad Soren's on his way to tormenting Liz," she suddenly hissed. That did the trick.
Whoa, time out, what?
Vance stopped and looked up, though Rain only offered a wicked grin. "Hey, Vance," she called from the stairs. "Go back to Zero Realm."
Oh, you
Before he had the chance to say it, he was sucked through the void and vanished.